Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of Let's Get You Painted. I am your host, Alec, and my co host with me is Jason. Jason, how are you doing today?
Brother man, I am absolutely fine. How are you?
I am doing amazing. I am
Awesome.
excited to paint some more of the Chimera Wyvern and to chat with you.
All right.
Those are two things I enjoy doing.
Painting is awesome.
Yeah, painting and chatting with you is one of my more enjoyable things I get to do during the day.
I
So
can
what
be
are
amusing.
I'm painting the Chimera Wyvern, which is a War Machine piece from Steamforged Games, and I'm actually using P3 paints, which is actually
Nice.
funny enough their paint line. But Jason, what are you painting as we chat today?
Well, as we chat today, we talked about on an earlier episode, I am not really commissioned, but I agreed to paint this. It's a Goblin Blood Bowl team. It's a Games Workshop um, fantasy football um, team made of goblins and a couple ogres. So fantasy Lord of the Rings time period finds the book and learns how to play football.
I think it's gonna be fun. Now, is it
Yeah.
football or is it soccer football? Is it
It
proper
is
football?
American football,
Oh, so not what's going on right now.
not World Cup soccer football.
Gotcha. Just in case we do have some of those international people, I figure we would, you
Sure,
know,
sure. Only Americans would call a game that's mostly played with your hands football. But, there you go.
yeah.
So it's a lot of fun. And we are going to be talking about what highlighting today, right?
Yeah, we're going to be talking about highlighting. Currently, I am working on, like I said, the Wyvern and doing a little bit of base coating, and then I'm also going to be doing some of the highlights. So one of the ways I'm going to do layering the highlights is I'm going to start with different colors of metallics, and then I'm going to bring up the colors as I go up higher. Now, when you do
Awesome.
highlighting, so you can start with a darker color and then come up for the higher lights. So this is going to show like an artificial light source when you're painting. And
100%.
as you saw on the previous episode, when I was painting with Joe, which is he's one of my co-hosts in the Atlanteans, I was showing about how you can layer dry brushing to give different effects. And in that episode, I went and I took, I think it was like 5 different colors, and I did different edges and different colors and different layers to do it. Now what I'm doing is I'm just painting on just some very specific areas on the model to bring some to really kind of catch your eye, as it were. And this is so it's going to be like the wings and some of the detail in the wings can kind of just look nice, and it's going to be some of those shiny colored metallics that I made. But with the face, I really do want it to have more of a coppery look because they are the kind of like robotic cybernetic dragons. So what I'm going to do here, I am going to first get some of the color on there of the copper, and then as I'm painting, I'm going to be blending in some of the radiant silver with it to make a lighter color, and that is going to add in a natural highlight. So I'm going to be blending when I get to that point the copper, penny, and radiant silver to make a naturally lighter color. Now, you don't necessarily have to mix yours. You could just go with, let's say you were going with a dark red, you could go with a lighter red, and then, a light pink and stuff like that. So you could bring edging or highlighting that way. But it just happens since I'm doing it in metallics, I have to basically make my own. I have to do my own highlighting.
Right. Well, I think before we really get too in depth to your color scheme, we kind of have to talk about order of operations for painting the model. right?
Hmm.
So before you get to the step you're on of highlighting, we have to make sure. I mean, I guess you can ink the model later to get the dark ink or wash into the crevices for the shade, but a lot of people do the shade and then the base color first, because highlighting's kind of like the on top, the very highest part of the model, closest to the light source, being lighter. So you have to make sure your base coats and your shading is done previously, right?
Yes. So when I do my shading, I paint on shade. I don't do what's called like dipping. So what I'll actually do is I will shade. I didn't actually shade this model, but normally if I'm going to shade, I will shade where I want, and then because sometimes when you shade, it'll wash out everything you're doing, I will then come in and do the highlights afterwards as well, like Jason was saying. But on this, because I'm not actually going to do a wash in this model, I'm just going to go, I just dry brushed in multiple different colors quickly, let it dry, and now I am going to paint on and do it, and then do my highlighting. But no, yeah, Jason is absolutely correct. Where if I was gonna do multiple layers and things like that, there would definitely be paint, base layer, a wash, which or like an inking, and then you would do your highlights on top of that because that brings the colors back. But I'm not necessarily gonna do that with this guy because I'm not actually gonna be putting a wash on him. I already how I painted it. I don't think it's gonna necessarily need a wash. But for example,
Right.
with um, Cynthia right here, Cynthia Roscoe, I did a wash
Okay.
and then I did come back and do highlights on her cloak afterwards. But yeah,
Did
I
you
had to
have
do
to
that first.
reintroduce the base color? Because did your base colors get washed out at all due to the wash?
They so where I did it, I'll wash in like if for example, if I'm doing her cloak, I'll do a green wash. If I'm doing like or an inking, if I'm doing her belt buckle, I'll do a dark brown wash. If I'm doing her boots, I'll do a light brown wash. So I have multiple different types. I don't just only hit like Agrath's Earthshade. I have different
Right.
colors of inks or
Perfect.
washes. Um,
And you're targeting only specific areas then.
very very specific areas like her hair, her face. Like I have washes that I do only for like if I want a pinkish face, if I want a tan face, I have a different color. I have, it's called like human flesh wash, and you take like a pink skin or an olive skin and then you hit it with this and it gives you that more human look. So I don't dip a model. I know that for
Great.
years that was suggested for like in 40K. They would just take your whole model after you base it and just put it in a big thing or just cover the
Worst
whole thing.
idea.
Yeah, I mean,
Worst idea ever.
everyone has their own way. Or they would just, put Agras Earthshade on everything, which, hey, like I get it. Sometimes that's what you want to do. I don't personally do that, but like I'll use null oil in certain areas, like if on like gold
Yeah.
coins or on like brass, sometimes null oil can really make it pop. And then after you're done, after it's all dry, then you can come in with the same color again, like Jason was saying, and just highlight just the tip top of where it is that would make it shine and glitter.
Okay. So since we're talking about models that are on a table that's probably indoors, there's no natural sunlight normally, um, which is the purpose of highlighting, right? We're trying to make our models look as realistic as possible. So we're simulating a light source. So before you start painting highlights and shading and all that on your model, even though it's got crevices and high ridges, um, we want to simulate the light source coming from a specific direction. So we highlight a specific facing or side of the model and shade deeper the other side of the model, right? So for your model there, where's your light source coming from?
So for this model, it is flying into the sun. So or flying towards the like a dawn sun. So the front of it is going to be brighter and the back is going to be a little bit more dull. I don't know if that's going to really show up on the stream or on the videos, but the colors on the underside are going to be brighter because it's flying, like I said, towards the light. And then they're going to be a little bit duller, even though they're still vibrant. It's still like a pink. They're going to be not
Mm.
as bright, not as strong
Right.
as directly coming in. So it's because he's flying into the light. Now you could have the light
Nice.
be directly on top. You could have it be 45 degrees off center. You could be, any of those different things. I just personally, I like the idea that it's like coming out for at least for wyverns and specifically for chimera that they're coming out of the darkness. Now you can even
Right.
go more advanced than that. Like if I eventually do get into Fana Nero, which are the new Dusk, I have an idea of each way or each model I want to have it coming out of like a shadow. So like take the model, cut it in half diagonally at like a 45-degree angle, and then it's
Hmm.
moving out. But with that, I actually want to try to set up the entire army as in maybe some of the front lower guys are actually fully exposed. The centerpiece, which is going to be the Warcaster, he is like half in, half out, and maybe some of the beasts are actually completely into the darkness. And under those conditions, what you would do is you would set up your entire board, your display board, and you then figure out where it is, and then you figure out where approximately the light would be. Now, to before you paint, what the easiest way to do is you can actually set a light bulb where you want the light to be. Look at the approximate shadow that it would cast on that like the tray.
Mm,
Take a
perfect.
picture without a flash. Key thing is without a flash,
Without a flash. Yep.
and take that picture and then use that as your reference for your display board. Now that's great for a display board and it looks awesome. It won't look as
Dynamic.
dynamic on the field because pieces are moving around, so the light source won't be the same. So for example, for these wyvern or for these chimera, everything is coming into the light, is like flying into the dawn. So since everything is faced that way, and in War Machine, facing doesn't matter anymore, nothing has to turn around or be turned to the side. It gives that really cool look for my opponent to look at. It's like I know
Yep.
what my
Yep.
army looks at. I want my opponent to see the cool work that I've put into it.
Nice. That's a very good point. Are you painting a single standalone model? Are you painting a bust? Are you painting a whole army? But what you want to take into account that if you're painting a whole army, you don't want every other model, especially in a 5 or 10 man unit that are grouped together, to each have the light source coming from a different angle for that individual model because it just really wrecks the realism pretty
Oh,
quickly.
especially in a unit, it can definitely. I mean, it to some people they won't notice, they won't know why it looks slightly off. But it's also one of those
But your
things like
brain's going to pick it up.
yes, but remember that like I would if someone's gonna paint and they're just painting and maybe they don't know why they're highlighting and they're just painting and they think it looks good, I'd rather them just be painted. But these are like some tips we could definitely use to try to elevate your painting as well.
Sure, sure.
I
And
mean, we
that's
could
why
get in.
some people really knock. I'm sorry, go ahead.
Oh, and I was gonna say, eventually in later episodes, we can definitely get into um, OSL, where is it OSL? It's where you have like a light on the model casting its own light on other things. Like you have something with a lantern
Yeah,
and it's going to illuminate your model in such a way. But then if you have other pieces in that unit, it'll illuminate them in specific ways. People used to do great things with the or not Griffin, Grimkin. Sorry, I had to remember what their names were, and the Lantern Man and the Hollow Men, because they would
oh, yeah.
use the entire piece, and the centerpiece of it would, of course, be the Hollow or the Lantern Man, and then he would illuminate using these different light sources and highlight basically them. And it was really cool when you'd see people do it. It was a lot of work, but it was beautiful.
Yes. Um, and that's why some people are really bashing slap chopping. I mean, A, they do it kind of wrong to begin with just to have a better excuse to bash it. But when you're slap chopping a model from the prime black to the dry brushing medium to light gray to the highlighting of the white, you're hitting the whole model like that. So you're just accentuating the ridges and the valleys, right? But there's no, it's like the light source is coming from 360 degrees around the model. So after you do your basic slap chop just to see all the details better, you have to almost come back with a zenithal or a white dry brush to hit the whole side of the model where you want the light to be coming from, and then maybe a darker dry brush to get the shade on the opposite side of the model. So when you start applying your colors, you already have your light source there affecting your paints.
I would say that when you're dry brushing, sometimes you can already set that when you set your grays and your lights. You
It,
can
it
come in from above, or you can come in from like like I said, like a forward 45 or something like that. It just you have to think about it while you're dry
you
brushing or
have to
while you're
think
setting
about it, and you have to focus on doing that. And most people just are getting into the habit of, I'm just dry brushing the whole model to get the valleys and the crevices to show the detail better, because you're taking it from a prime black model, which almost hides everything, right?
yeah.
Um, and they're not thinking of, where's my light source? How am I going to paint this model 5 steps down the road? They're not thinking like a chess player for painting the steps. The step is prime the model black,
No, I
then
get that.
dry
I think
brush the
probably I
whole
do it by
model.
habit now.
Yeah, yeah. But if you want to get into better habits, or just to take it to a step further to increase your realism and your ease of painting in later steps, do your normal slap chop steps all the way through. And just remember, once you now can see the model and you can see all the details, you may have a better idea of where you want that light source to come from. And then just take a second 2 steps of shading and highlighting to hit the face, the side, the whatever angle you want your light source to come from with a white dry brush, and then hit the opposite side with a dark dry brush,
Yeah,
and then you're ready to paint for real.
absolutely.
But when we're highlighting and shading, we're not only just hitting the raised tips of the whole model and the recessed crevices of the whole model, because maybe, like you said, the whole side of that face is going to be shaded depending on where your light source is.
Yeah. No, it's definitely one of those things. I mean, I like I said, I've been painting for so long. Sometimes I'm like, all right, with this army, it's going to be doing what and stuff like that. Like one of the things I've wanted to do for so long for an army, but I haven't, is to have it with the sun behind them so that their faces and their chests are in darkness and their backs are illuminated like they're coming out of the sun. But it
Right.
would be if you didn't understand what you were looking at, it would look weird.
Yes.
But
Like, why would you do
if I did it correctly, it would be awesome. Especially if someone then knew what they were looking at, they'd be like, "Oh, that's great." But I feel like some people would be like, "Why are all of your faces and your chests all darker, and why is your back and your shoulders bright?" I'm like, "Oh yeah, they're stepping out of the light, you know." And people wouldn't get it, and
that?
I haven't done it.
Yep.
and that's okay. Like
That's a lot of models to take that risk on,
it is, it is.
but I would enjoy it.
Well, I might do it for you
Yeah,
then, but
perfect. So what do you think is has more effect on the way the modelers design their models? Do you think straight up kind of on the forehead, sun coming down on the face? Because I normally think based on the model, the 45-degree off to the left side or off to the right side really showcases the model's details and features a little better than just top down.
I think they're definitely looking as if it's the light is in front of you and you're stepping into the light and yeah, that's and it's not always directly into it, it's slightly off center because it'll give you like a more dynamic feel for it. I think that's how they like because if you look at some of the studio paints and when they do it, like the schemes, that's how they have it. I think some of the older stuff that we used to see, like some of the old when I think about like old Kador or old um, Signar, it was as if the light was just not directly overhead, but almost directly overhead, and in the middle of noon, in the center of a
Right.
battle with no shadows, and that's where they were just two armies just walking towards each other.
Yep. No real dynamic poses leaning to the right or left, just straight at you. Kind of, I don't
I
know.
mean, it
But
it
now
works though.
most models are really dynamically posed to lean towards the right or the left.
Yes.
So you really have easy options of is the light shining over this shoulder or this shoulder?
Yeah. Now, funny enough, this model that I'm painting, it did not always have this skew to it. Funny enough, those of you that have watched me paint this last week know that, in fact, it isn't until you start putting weight on this model that the tail gives out under the weight and the whole thing will shift. And so this guy, he shifted over and basically fell. I think they were offering for a while there replacement like a little rock to hold him up. But I might just have him like cockeyed in battle, just tilted like this. Like, again,
He's
if you look,
dodging a bullet.
yeah, maybe he's dodging an attack. But so what I've done here is I've brought some brass in, some different colors of bronze, some copper, and then some platinum. And now what I'm going to do is on my wet palette, I'm going to mix some of those colors as well. And I'm just going to come in. See that I need to wait a little bit longer for that area to dry. And I'm going to bring in, again, some right over here and right up there. Just a minor amount of highlighting. And same thing on like the shoulders to just bring a little bit of color in. So I just got to give it a couple seconds to dry some more.
So
Oh man,
even though the base metal color for that piece is brass,
bronze,
bronze, you're
molten
going to bring
bronze.
your highlighting colors up into like silver and gold and brass, right?
Yep.
Which
So
are
I have
different
the colors I have.
metals. Yeah,
Yeah, I have here. I have molten bronze, brass balls, copper penny, and radiant platinum. So by adjusting these colors and combining them with different colors, I can actually adjust like the shading of it. Also, it makes it feel like it's not just one straight different type of metal. There's different types of metal that made this chimera piece because it's like a cybernetic dragon type thing.
nice.
But yeah, by combining like radiant platinum and molten bronze, I can get a highlight there. By doing brass balls and radiant platinum, I'll get that highlight. And then by doing copper penny and platinum again, I will get that type of highlight. So I'm basically using the highlight to make the combination for the highlight is adding the radiant platinum into one of those three colors.
Yep. And that's due to the sun and shadows darkening and lightening the metal.
Yes.
Yeah, that's good stuff. Where do you get your, what's the word I'm looking for? A lot of people use three tones, if you
Hmm.
will, for the shadow, the base, and then the highlight, right?
Yeah.
For realism, they're using or three shades of the same color: a dark blue, a medium blue, and a light blue for the highlight, right? Just
Yeah.
to name a color. Um, do you use a color wheel or any like Privateer Press says this is our color palette and this is what you use to get shade and highlights for XYZ color? Do you use anything like that, Alec?
I don't. I have in the past. I have used like a circular color wheel. Um and then I have seen with Privateer Press before they're bought or before P3 Paints was bought by Steamforge, I did used to use their little color system. But now what it is I kind of like look at the model, I look at my thing of paints, and I'm like, what will look good together, and that's kind of what I do. And I just kind of play it by ear. And sometimes it works out and sometimes it doesn't. But that's the great thing about painting. If it doesn't look good, you can paint over it.
Right.
And I try not
And
to
just
take myself too seriously when I paint. I would much rather just enjoy painting, have fun, and do all that than stress out about it. Like I've
well,
said
let's ro-
previously, I would much rather someone just get out there and have a decently painted army and get reps in on the game and learn how to play the game and have fun than stress out and burn themselves out before they ever get to the table.
Oh, right. Um, so there are all kinds of references you can quickly Google online if you want to look up what a color wheel is and how to blend colors and mix colors. But I remember back when I was a broke high schooler painting, and like I didn't have the money that I do now for this wall of paints, right?
Yeah.
So I needed three colors, brother. I needed whatever that color was, white and black. And
Yes.
I didn't have a wet palette back then, but I did have a palette, just used to mix colors, and three drops of the main color and one or two drops of black and then one or two drops of white, and I had my whole color spectrum right there.
That works really well. Yeah, adding the black or the white definitely works. It works very well to it. So when I'm doing highlighting, I don't go and highlight a long area. I look at what is one of the highest points to that piece, and I just try to follow the natural edge. I also try to make sure there's not too much paint on the brush. And I might be doing this wrong. I'm sure there's an expert out there. But that's just all I do, adding just a little bit of color to it.
Yeah, you want to leave an edge showing of the original color, and then as you highlight lighter and lighter, you just want to work on smaller and smaller amounts until you get to the very tip for the final highlight, where you're just painting the edge.
Yep. As with everything, more is or less is more. So the less you do, the more it can affect it and make it look better.
And the less you do, the less touch ups you have to do.
There you go. That is also very, very important. But so with this, leaving more of the black and then having vibrant points or vibrant brass or silver points with a little bit of highlight just makes the whole thing stick out more. So you see his face more, you see his quills. Like I want his spikes to really pop. I want the neon of them where I blended the different purples and pinks. So it's not all just the same color. This is stuff I did last time on it. So
Yeah.
you see the different colors and it just makes it look more like a living creature almost. Because nothing you look at in I don't know if it's
Is your
focused.
camera
Hold on.
vibrating? Yeah.
Yeah, there you go. I think it's working now. So if you look at it, nothing in nature is perfect. It's not all like nothing's a perfect purple or pink or green or blue or brown. There's always shades, even in, a dog, even in a cat. And that's what I try to do with like the quills up here or on the wings, just by trying to bring out the different colors. Now, when I did the purples, the pinks, and like that, I was adding bronze and brass in on them to try to make it look more metallic. Not look more metallic, but it did look more metallic. It has more of a shine. So in brighter lights, the wings are purple, but they're metallic purple or metallic pink or metallic orange. And that's because I wanted it to look like a robot dragon, basically, or a cybernetic dragon, I guess, because not robot would be the wrong word. It'd be like cybernetic. But if you
I
look,
think
but
we
if you catch
also,
the, go ahead.
yeah. No, go ahead.
I was gonna say so, but if you look at it, you can see sometimes the shine and the shimmer with it, and it's a fun thing you can do. But just remember with painting, like make it your own, have fun with it.
100%. Well, you're talking about making metallics look metallic-y,
Hmm.
lustrous, shiny. Um, I've found that I've had to paint metallic colors over black and not gray or white, in order to get that luminous, lustrous, metallic
Yes.
sheen, if you will. And I
Yeah.
know a lot of people debated about it, and that's why a lot of your pro painters, they're either solidly, I'm a prime everything white or I'm a prime everything black, and they don't care if it takes extra coats. They're just going to paint straight onto the black and do extra coats instead of, hey, let me slap some gray on there so I have a medium that will take my color pigment of a different color better. But I think you've had an episode where you talked about why you would prime white or gray or
Yeah.
black, or what's the difference and how that affects your
So
tone.
yeah. So this guy is obviously primed black. This guy right here was actually primed gray because you can see on the base. So it was a black model and it's primed gray because I wanted more greens and blues. And I find greens and blues will go better on a gray.
Yeah,
Like, it's just my personal preference. But I had to do thicker coats of brown on top of the gray because the gray just didn't, for whatever reason, it just kind of, I don't want to say washed it out, but the brown wasn't as vibrant. For whites, if I'm going to do reds or yellows, it's better for to getting those colors. So if I want a bright yellow as the piece, I'll actually paint pink. I'll do prime it white and then I will paint it pink or red and normally pink and then I'll do yellow on top of that to get the color out. Yeah, so I have no problem priming, like for example, so this guy is going to be eventually yellow. So he's primed in white.
yeah,
And some of my stuff is primed in black, some of it's primed in gray. Trying to think if I've primed in other colors. I think back in the day, like years ago, when I was playing Blood Angels, I would prime in red. But that was just because I could save myself if I used the army painter, I think it was Mephisto red or whatever their dark red was. I could kind of cheat a little
but
bit because I could hit it
yeah,
with the red prime or red paint, and then I could do um a like hit the highlights of like the really vibrant plates with red, like an actual paint on red, and then I would wash areas, hit black, and then I would almost be done because if I miss painting something, it was most likely going to be red and I didn't have to worry about it. So kind of it was kind of not, I don't say a cheat way, but it was a way so that like if I made a mistake and I missed something, most likely it was going to be covered up by being red. I'm sure if most of your army was like tan, you probably could do the same thing with tan.
Oh yes, 100%. If 75% of your model is going to be one color, why not prime it that color? Save yourself. Then you're just doing washes and highlights and poking out the few things that are a different color.
Absolutely. It makes it so much easier. I mean, especially because let's say for example, you're doing Signar, like Signar Storm Legion. You could hit the entire thing with blue, like a bright, vibrant blue for priming, and then a thin coat of Signar blue on their plates. Hit their Under Armor in either black or silver. Give it a wash in different areas to bring out the silver, and then highlight the lighter blue, like the mage blue or whatever the highlight blue is called. Hold on, it's called so it's still called arcane blue? No.
I believe so.
Was it? Caspian blue. Or maybe it is arcane. But anyways, there's a light blue you can use and you hit that for your edging and then you're good. And now you have the 3 to 5 color minimum because you're also going to hit like brown on the boots or you're going to hit brown on the belt and you're
Right.
good. You hit silver on the weapons. And it's not about painting sloppy, it's about painting efficiently and using your time effectively. Like I was able to get this entire piece done. I mean, I might come back and do a little bit more on it, but that's an 80 mil piece, and it's done in an hour and 15 minutes.
I
That's
wish I
not
could do
bad.
that.
You could do that, man.
Yeah.
You paint, dude. Don't even act like you don't paint better than me.
Uh, I I would debate that for real, but I definitely don't paint as fast as you or the Bix does.
Well,
Y-
I have
She
to
can
paint
paint
fast.
a whole team in like 5 hours. Like
Yeah, Bix is amazing in the quality and the speed. Like I don't know how she does that.
it
I mean,
blows my
I had to
mind.
learn to paint fast just because I think having kids, like
Yeah.
doing all that type of
You
stuff,
you're
I had,
sneaking in 20 minutes here, 20 minutes there in between the million
yeah,
things you have to do as a dad. Yeah.
yeah, being able to put 30 or 40 minutes done and get the entire thing, get something done and just knocked out, and then I can move on to the next piece.
Mm. That's
That
not an
that's what.
encouragement for me to have kids, I can tell you.
Well, I think you might be beyond the point where you might want to start.
Oh, dust
No, I
jokes.
mean, hey, you could always adopt. Go downstairs and say, Bix, I want to adopt children, and see what she says.
Uh, I like my nose in the shape that it is in. I just turned 53 yesterday, so 20 years of getting somebody in and out of the house, no, I'm good.
I know.
Not for me.
I mean, I think about with my youngest, like 14 more years. I'm like, oof. Well, no,
You're
like
what, 32? What are you?
what am I? I am 40. I'm in my mid 40s.
Mid 40s?
Mid 40s. I'm not as
Lower
old as
40s.
you. I think I'm 43. Maybe 44.
Yeah, that's not mid. That's the early.
Is that? It feels like it. I mean, we'll see. We're gonna see how well I paint after I get this back surgery. That's gonna
I
be
mean, I'm in my
interesting.
mid 30s too. Absolutely.
You absolutely are. Man, I thought you were in your 20s, not even your 30s. Just
mentally, mentally.
yeah. the military was just hard on you. That's why it's all gray and
Yeah.
well, I think that's where we're gonna have to call it for today, brother.
All right. It's
So
been a
thank you,
pleasure.
thank you everyone for coming out to another great episode of Let's Get You Painted. As always, I am Alec, and this is Jason.
Later. Be
Bye,
well.
guys.